We are back with episode 3 of Discover, Design, and Delight in Your Own Personal Masterpiece. I really hope you've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. As of today's discussion, I have held my own meeting with myself, my very first one. And I must say, it was such a breath of fresh air to take 4 hours and block them to myself. I, as Stefan suggested, started with a walk. I grabbed my backpack. I made a sandwich, my air up bottle, which I'll be talking about a lot because I love it, my walking poles, hiking poles, a notebook, and several copies of the 4-quadrant sheet that I have mocked up and will have on the website for you to all to download as just a guide for the principles that Stefan talked about in episode 2. I made my way to a small cafe in the little town of Adlisville, and I cozied up in a nice table overlooking the Zill River that runs through the little town. I can't emphasize the importance of making sure your meeting takes place in a relaxing and ideally scenic environment. For those of you in big cities, perhaps there's a little piece of greenery somewhere or a cafe that you can use. Today's discussion with Stefan, once again, owner of Labas Fitness Coaching based in the beautiful Belvoir Hotel in our charming little village of Rüschlikon, Switzerland, will center around setting the right goals, understanding your why, limiting beliefs, and addressing some of the fear that comes with going out of our comfort zone. I warn you, and I warn you, Stefan, I'm going to quote James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, quite a lot. I really love this book. And I'm also very curious, and I will ask Stefan questions about how James Clear's principles in Atomic Habits sort of lines up with yours, Stefan. One of the biggest aha moments I had reading this book was a quote that says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." And that just struck me right in the heart because it's my systems that are the biggest source of my frustrations. I just don't have enough systems in place. One of the things that I deal with or am working on is mental fitness as a prerequisite to achieving goals. And Stefan and I were preparing for this episode and we were sharing ideas, and he said something that I thought would be a great way to kick off the podcast. I thought it was hilarious. I don't know if you were trying to be funny, but it was funny, Stefan. So I'm going to read this out for everybody. This is the text that he sent me. "Often, it is not enough to just turn a wheel to change something. It's better to take a bird's eye view of your own situation. With conscious consistency, you can outsmart the personal bastard who wants to spoil your soup." So this kind of quote is right up my alley, my non-traditional alley. And with that, I will welcome Stefan back on the podcast for episode 3. Welcome, Stefan.
Namaste. Welcome. Thank you to have me back. Yeah, that was that was from a German version. It was translated by Deepu.
I love it. It's my new favorite phrase. Keep the bastard.
Translated like bastard. This German, it's called innerer Schweinehund.
Yeah. Okay. Inner pig head or something.
They translate as bastard.
Yeah. Well, I loved it. Keep the little bastard at bay in our head. That's what you're going to help us do today, right? You can help to keep the little bastard away and keep the conscious and consistent voice in our head, giving that more time, more space in our brain. So kicking it off, why don't we start with your process for building and then maintaining mental fitness? And you can kind of approach this in any way that you want to. I also wouldn't mind hearing if you have a kind of how your process has evolved over time with your clients and how you came to sort of understand that if you don't address that mental muscle, you're probably not going to achieve many of the sort of physical goals that we might have for ourselves.
Well, first of all, the methods and the system that you hear today or learn you have to be careful because it can change your life. It did definitely change my life for sure. when I learned that what I'm, or part of that, what I'm explaining you today in my life about 15 years ago, it changed a lot in my life because I struggled with certain things all the time, and knowing of certain things really changed a lot in my life. And I will explain the concept of that achieving goal system, not so much only based on the rational part of planning things, because planning things is very important, but planning things, it's the plan of doing something comes after the reason why and the clear decision that you want to do something. Because we all know that, and we all have had that experience a lot in our life, that you try to do something, you have a goal, you try to achieve that, and you fail. And maybe you fail all the time. And that failing, if you want to achieve a goal, of course, can be for our subconscious mind, can become a little problem, because it starts to prints it down as a failure. And for our subconscious, if our subconscious has something printed down as a failure, it can develop a problem to addressing the same goal again, because so we call it then a limiting belief. So if a belief is something that you really deeply knowing inside of you, yes, that's I can do that, I'm good in that. That's what I made experience in my past. I'm very good with that, and I can achieve that goal. And the limiting belief, it's of course the opposite. Is something that you really could not follow through, and was something that came up, for example, as if you want to achieve something, that always comes up like, yeah, but my grandmother or my grandfather was already, had this high blood pressure, and now, so it's in my family, and now I of course also have this high blood pressure, and this is very difficult to get rid of that.
Yeah.
It's just an example with the blood pressure. It could be also about weight.
Good example.
It's many times with weight, people have that they want to lose weight, and then they say like, yeah, but already my father or my mother was overweight and had problems with that, and this is in my genes, and my genes are steering that, and now I'm over 40, and now my hormones also screw up everything, but it's also something my mother had already. So this can become a limiting belief. And if a limiting belief, which is something underlying it's like a software in your computer, if you want to be an example, as your body and mind as a computer with hardware and software, and the limiting belief can be something that's underlying all your systems, so that afterwards, when you have difficulties to follow a plan, let's say you make then a plan, you want to lose 10 kilograms, and you can't stick to that plan because always difficult things coming in your way.
Yeah, you sort of have it already an excuse that why you can't do something.
You struggle always with certain things, that, or it becomes very very intensive, very very hard, and then that's what you keep repeating to yourself. It's very hard for me losing weight because of, and then you can
pick several things. I did a podcast that was published in January with a woman called Nicolina Lauch, and she is the CEO of a company called GlycanAge, and they do a blood test that measures your chronological or your biological age, and then you compare that to your chronological age. And I'm probably going to get this statistic wrong, but she says that our DNA that we inherit is only accounts for, I want to say, 30% or less of what actually happens to us. And lifestyle is plays such a huge role in our aging, in disease, in our weight. And we too often use an excuse of, this is what my mom looked like, or my dad, and so therefore I can't fight that. And that's, I guess, a limiting belief. And I wonder if it's also kind of goes back to that, that dinosaur brain, which wants to protect us from, I guess, in the old days, the old days, it was protecting us from maybe animals or a bad environment around us. In today's world, maybe it is protecting us from disappointment or putting ourselves out there and failing. So we'd rather protect ourselves from even trying than face a very clear failure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's the same concept, and the fight and flight reaction from the body, it does the same things. It blocks everything down. But so
yes.
normally for the goal setting, what we are doing now in this next 40 minutes, normally I do this with managers or teams from companies, executive teams. I do this 1, 2, or 3 days. So it does take a while to really go into it and going through the important steps, because of course there is a step system that you can follow to really make sure that you have the right setup, the right foundation, that you're really able to overcome and achieving goals that you really set up for you, that you have set up for yourself.
Do you want to run us through that now, that process, or is that
it's
later in the process, in the program?
Well, let me maybe first quickly explain how our mind works, because it's obviously it's very important. I'll do this very quickly. Of course, it is not. It's more complex and complicated, but I try to explain it in a easy way, not too complicated.
Okay, good. I got my tea. I'm ready to listen.
Because it's underlying everything that comes afterwards. So it's important to understand this quickly. So our mind is roughly made of our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. We all know that. Our conscious mind is the things that we use when we talk right now, when we work, when we have good ideas, when we want to lose weight, when we want to read a book. So this is all our conscious mind. Very curious, it's very important, the conscious mind, and it has also quite some power. They could measure it in science, that our conscious mind, like if you want to compare it to a computer, has the capacity, or let's say like a VLAN connection, of
Wi-Fi.
About 1,700 bits per second. The speed of the download, it's about 1,700 bits per second, which is really cool, which is quite a lot. So you can do a lot of things with your conscious mind. You can do about 2 or 3 things parallel. So if you sit home and watching TV, and on the telephone, your husband can home and can ask you something, and you can still answer that question. If your son also comes in and also asks something, then it gets too much. Then you go, just
women would say that they're better at that than men.
They're multitasking.
Maybe that's another podcast.
But that's a total other podcast probably. So let's say you can do 2 or 3, or maybe even 4. Maybe let's say women can do 4 things parallel, or 5.
Okay. Good. At least I just wanted you to acknowledge that.
That's about the range that the conscious mind can do. 1,700 bits per second, which is a lot, and about 2 or 3 things parallel. So now our subconscious mind, which is deeper, which is huge. The capability of our subconscious mind is our subconscious mind can process 17 million bits per second.
I thought you were going to say 1,000. I thought you were going to say 17,000. 17
million bits per second.
Wow, that does put it into contrast, doesn't it?
This is for example, if you want to have it like as an example, another example is like eine Mücke, a fly.
Oh, a mosquito.
A mosquito, yeah. Thank you. If you want to compare, it's like a mosquito and a football field.
Yeah. Wow.
In size, as a difference.
Jeez, that's
mosquito
crazy.
to a football field.
Wow, that's very powerful information.
That's about the difference between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind.
Wow, that's crazy.
For the speed of 17 million bits per second, it's so amazing that everything that runs in our life, it's done by our subconscious mind, or the most of that. Our subconscious mind can do thousands of things parallel.
Is this the sort also included, like just breathing and the blood flowing through our systems, the things that we obviously can't always think about that takes place?
All the subconscious mind is doing
all that is
your heartbeat, your liver, your lung, your digestion, everything. All your subconscious mind does all that parallel.
We don't think about it.
You don't think about it. Or think of when you're learning to drive a car in the beginning, your conscious mind is doing it on the parking field, forwards and backwards. So you could never imagine how to drive a car in the city, in a traffic jam, and even having a phone or drinking something parallel. So you could never imagine doing that. It seems to be impossible. But if you learn driving on the parking spot, and after a while you can drive on the street, after a while you can drive in the city, and if it's traffic jam, and you can start to phone and use the radio and drink something.
Not that you shouldn't be using your phone.
You shouldn't do that, but you could.
I have to do a quick commercial.
Yeah,
Okay.
now you should not do that, but you could do that.
Okay.
And
so that's very powerful.
It's because it's all done by your subconscious. So the subconscious mind is a huge backup in our system, and is responsible for everything. So if our subconscious mind doesn't want us to do something, we're not able to do something. So you could not even get up of your room and go to the toilet. If your subconscious mind doesn't support that, your conscious mind, with a lot of willpower, could not do that.
Yeah. Okay.
The willpower, the conscious mind is willpower. Yes, I will lose 10 kilograms. That's the subconscious mind. But if your subconscious mind is not supporting that and believing that you can do that, then your conscious mind can't do it by itself. Because obviously, if you're doing the math, then we know how powerful the subconscious compared to the conscious mind is. It's not that it's more important one to the other. They're both important, but the subconscious mind has all the power. And we've heard that many times probably, but that's about the short version of this conscious and subconscious mind. And then we have, maybe that's also important to hear it already once, then we have the left and the right hemisphere from our brain. Maybe you've also heard about that one. The left hemisphere is responsible for the logical things. Left part of the brain, it's for logical things. Logical things are making your tax, making your bills, talking right now, also achieving results, thinking on tomorrow and next week, thinking about the past, last week, last year, all those rational parts on the left side of the brain, left hemisphere, and on the right side, on our brain, the right hemisphere, it's responsible for feeling things, emotions. If you feel good, if you feel love, if you feel happy, if you're in the moment right now, the right part of the brain, the right hemisphere, brings you into the moment and can feel the moment right now.
Okay, can I just stop you for a second there? We know that some people are more naturally aligned with the right or the left. And that seems to be, I don't know whether that's part of this unconscious kind of belief system, but some people are more numeric, they're more structured, that makes them feel good. Others are, a bit more chaotic. They, I don't want to associate the right brain with chaotic. I don't mean to do that, but let's say the more creative side, the more feeling side. Now, obviously, there's a lot of value in being able to tap into both of those, but certain people will have more of a trait on one side or the other. How do you approach that with people? If you have more of a left brain oriented person, they might respond differently to goal setting than a right brain person. Have you found that? And are you kind of thinking about that in your processes?
Of course, all the time. And of course, it confronts you all the time. Let me explain two things to that. First of all, the fact that that's the reality. The left side is responsible for the logic and is doing things, achieving results, and the right part of the brain is responsible for the feelings, for being in the moment, enjoying things, feeling things. And now, just want to make that little synchronization. The right part of the brain, the right hemisphere, it's direct connected with the subconscious.
Okay.
That's why it is so important. Because now with the right part because if you do a lot of logical things, achieving results, doing this, doing calculations, thinking, yes, that makes sense. No, that doesn't make sense to do that. Yeah. If you do a lot of rational thinking, which is good, which is important. I don't want to say it is not important. It's very important. Yeah. And not a lot of feeling, being in the moment exercises or awareness, then we lose touch to our subconscious part. And the subconscious part, we remember, has the power of achieving everything. So now it's not, and so that's the first part. So the second part is everything that we have. So if you don't have enough muscles, if you're very weak, so either you can complain, okay, these are my genes, or this is because of whatever it is, or you can start to train your muscles physically wise. And it's the same with your brain, and it's the same with the right and the left hemisphere. It's not so much how much are you born with or not born with. It's you can train everything you pay attention on, but it doesn't go from one day on the other. It takes a little while, but you can train it and you can cultivate that. And the training and cultivating the right part of our brain, the right hemisphere, is something I do most of the time at the first part of my coachings, just to bring a little balance into the right and the left hemisphere, to be quicker and better in approaching the subconscious when we need it to achieve results. Because now comes the point. If we want to achieve a result, then we need the subconscious, our subconscious, to support that. If our subconscious doesn't agree to that, then you will not achieve a result that you want. And now the conscious mind. So the conscious mind is responsible for information. So let's say you want to lose weight and you don't know how to do that. And you say like, okay, let me buy 50 books and let me read all those 50 books. A lot, but let's say you do that. So you have all the knowledge in your brain. You know everything about losing weight theoretically in your mind. You know all that, and you're still not able to do it.
Yeah.
That's a reality sometimes,
That's classic. Yeah,
it's not
I think so.
only about the strategy and knowing how. It's about that our subconscious mind has to support that with a strong feeling.
What's the exercise then that you do with people to get that right brain turned on, kind of,
Well, there are different kind of exercises. I'll separate that in physical exercises, because the body has an impact on our subconscious mind, as we heard already in the last podcast. The body is a mirror of our subconscious mind, and there are mental exercises that you do with imagining affirmations, that you imagine things. So I normally start with the physical exercises because they're a little bit, and now I have to be careful what I'm saying. They're not easier, but they're simple. They're simple, but not easy, but they are simpler to do a little bit. So now if you, for example, if you stay on one leg and you make your balancing, because you stay in one leg, you start to balancing. And if you take a ball and you balance that ball from the left side to the right side, and you're still standing on that one leg, which makes it a bit more complicated, then you need your mind and body needs to synchronize.
Okay.
You can't think of anything else at the moment, because otherwise you would lose the ball. You need to check in.
Okay.
And I call this making the connection to your subconscious, to the Velan, the strong Velan. So doing balance exercises, or in yoga, they do the tree. Balance exercise in combination with something that you do with your hands, legs and hands combined, makes you starting to be aware of your center, calming you down. And at the same time, you're activating the right part of your brain.
Wow, fascinating.
The right hemisphere. Or the second possibility, you do something that's very enjoyable and fun for you. This is something different now. You do something that you really love to do. It's walking in the nature, if it's dancing, if it's listening to music that touches your heart, just something that gives you that inner smile of, wow, I love that. This is so cool for me to listen to, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That touching your heart also activates the right part of your brain.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Do you explain that to your clients when you sit down with coaching them? Do you say, here, do a balance exercise, and they do it? Or do you explain to them tapping into the subconscious is an important part of our being successful with your physical body. So we're going to do this exercise because of the connection. I mean,
I'm
are you?
not explaining too much from unless they come and want to know it in the beginning, but otherwise I keep that behind the scene, and
Okay.
I ask them the questions, what do they want to achieve, what the goals are, and then I do certain exercises that they can feel it. Because
Okay.
if you feel it, what happens? So if now I explained you this balance exercise and you think like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it makes sense, or it sounds funny or not so funny. So
Okay.
then already your conscious mind makes a decision of, yeah, this
Ah,
is stupid, it doesn't help me anything to
interesting.
achieve my
Yeah.
results. But if I
Okay.
do that exercise with you by not explaining, just doing it, and in the beginning, maybe you have problems, and that's what exactly happens. People who are very very active in the left part of your brain hemisphere, which are typical people who are doing a lot with numbers, with results, with thinking,
Yeah.
like executives normally, which is the
Right.
strength, which is important. This is a good strength. There's nothing to
Sure.
say about
Yeah.
that. But if you have this too much of that, you have not enough of the other side. Then the emotional part is feeling a little bit, or it's not enough. So for them, explain it doesn't help anything.
Okay.
Doing it
Interesting.
with them. So I do
Yeah.
it first. They can feel it, and when they feeling it, they start to realizing, wow, oh, that's interesting. So I've had this many times that I do exercises with people, especially with executive people, and I don't explain them because they don't need to understand the explanation. The
Right.
explanation doesn't help them anything. The exercise helps
There's a
them.
method to your madness.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if they do the exercise for a few weeks or a month, they come back and give me the feedback of, no, it's so interesting because in my meetings with my board members or with my team members or whatever, with my customers, I'm much more calmer. I realize that I'm calmer, I'm laid back more, I can listen more to people when they say something, make
Wow.
my mind, make my position, and state my position, but I can also get back a little or relax a little bit. You can say it also, it's a possibility to relax and be more in your
Yeah.
in
Well,
your
in your conscious kind of, well, I guess in the moment, really,
in
which
the
is,
moment.
yeah. And then, so then what's the next process that you do? You said that's the physical one, then you do kind of a mental one.
Then I do the mental one, which of course is something that comes out of the mental training, which is nothing that we have or can do or not have or not can do, is just here by coincidence. Everything we are good in, it's because we're training that, we're exercising that daily, weekly, monthly, or we have not trained that. So if we are mental not good in something, that's because we have not trained that. And mentally being good in something, one of the first exercises that I do with customers to try to learn, because let's explain it that way. Mental training means you close your eyes and you imagine something in front of your inner eye. So let's make it practical. You want to lose 10 kilograms. Now you close your eyes and you imagine yourself, how you look, where you are, what your clothes that you're wearing, how you feel, how you breathe, how you stand when you are weigh
10
10
kilos
kilograms
less.
less.
Good.
And you're not thinking, oh, in 6 months I'm look like that. So you're thinking that right now, because this is the first little secret about the subconscious, the power of the subconscious. The subconscious supports us very strongly. But if you want something now, if you feel something now, it supports it. If you think, okay, I want to look very good in 6 months, or if I want to look good in 6 months, if that's your description, your subconscious goes back to sleep and says like, okay, bring me
Yeah.
something that's interesting. Otherwise I go back to sleep, and you can use your conscious mind, but not me, because I'm too powerful. I sleep. When you
This
meet
is
me,
boring me.
I come. This is
Wake me
boring.
when it's more interesting.
When wake me up when it's more interesting, and it becomes more interesting when it is now. Hey, now it is.
I need you to act now.
You need to be able to feel, and that's the most important, most challenging thing. You need to be able to feel now how you look like when you're weigh 10 kilograms less.
Okay, so you've got to visualize.
You need to visualize and feel it. Not only
Yeah.
thinking it positively, you need to feel it. And to be able to do that, you need to do certain pre-exercises. And the pre-exercises are you close your eyes and you breathe into your nose and you breathe out through your nose. And the only thing that you observe with your closed eyes, with your mind, is that inhalation and that exhalation. That inhalation and that exhalation. That's the only thing what you do for 3 minutes with your closed eyes. That's the first exercise. Simple, but not easy. And if you learn that, doing that, because of course the reality is you close your eyes, you start to breathe, you observe your breath, in breath, out breath. And after 10, 20, 30 seconds, your mind, it's wandering away and it's doing its own things. It thinks about what you have to do tomorrow. It thinks about the past. It thinks about what the stupid exercise is this here. What does that help me? So it thinks 1,000 different things, but here you have to nicely, calmly bring your mind back and tell them, listen, my friend, you stay now with me. It's like a dog, walking with your dog. You have your dog on the leash. It needs to walk with you on the leash till it learns to walk good with you. And then you can take the leash off and you can call him and he still walks next to you. So, and with your mind, it's the same thing. That's something that we should cultivate and learn more, maybe from the school age already. Learn to to use our mind, what we think, and that makes what we feel.
I guess the idea is just that you train the mind to focus on what you really want to focus on.
Exactly.
And then over time, you just can tap into that a lot quicker with practice.
And the point I want to make is it is not easy. This is difficult in the beginning, and you might think this is stupid. It doesn't help me anything. What is this good for? But it is good for. Imagine you want to plant some flowers, or you want to plant a nice flower, and you put the seed into the soil. And now you have put the seed in the soil, and now the flower, it's not here yet. And if you're not patient enough, after 2 or 3 days, you think like, oh, it's never coming up, then it will never come up. So you need to be patient and nurturing the soil and giving water. And nurturing soil and giving water in our conscious and subconscious concept is training that daily, regularly, like brushing your teeth as a routine, training to be aware where your thoughts go and be able to bring them back into the present moment.
Okay, this is a great moment for me to bring in the concept of habit stacking. This really resonates with me, and I think what you just said about the brushing your teeth is an example of how you can habit stack, or with your cup of coffee every morning, where you take a habit you want to implement and you do it next to a habit that is already second nature to you. You pretty much brush your teeth at the same time every day, most of the time, right? You pretty much get your coffee or your tea with regularity most of the time. You're not thinking about that. You're like, oh, bed, out of bed, coffee, let the dog out. Like there's a series of sequences that you go. So habit stacking, the concept is that, and I think it's really achievable with this 1 minute concept, is that you say, okay, every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to, right after or even during, I don't know, maybe it doesn't make sense during, to do this 1 minute breathing in and breathing out. And then that's sort of these micro movements that don't require huge planning. Like, I'm going to meditate 5 times a week. Now I got to find when I'm going to meditate, and I got to have, everybody's got to be quiet, and I've got to find the perfect space. And then we're just pushing off the success, right? So I love the idea of habit stacking with these little micro movements.
Yeah.
Over time, you're like, wow, well, that wasn't so hard. And I enjoyed that. And so if you enjoy it, right, that's the other part of it. You have
Yeah.
to kind of have a reward for
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
part of the reward is just doing it. Maybe just the fact that you did it, you're like, wow, I just meditated 7 days this week because I did it immediately after I brushed my teeth, or I did it immediately after I took my coffee. Even if you're standing at the coffee machine
Yeah.
for 1 minute, you've got your coffee in hand, you've taken a sip, and you're just happy
Yeah.
already because you got your coffee. And now
Yeah.
you're like, well, let's just do some breathing. So have you heard about that concept, habit stacking? I really like that idea to just reinforce new habits.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, there are a lot of people who talk about those topics which are very good, like Tim Ferriss, as we have talked already.
Yeah.
Tim
Love
Ferriss
Tim
has
Ferriss.
also
Yeah.
those very practical, good tips about doing things that work. And the most things that they describe are little things, but you
Yeah.
have to do the little things for a certain while, and then they become a routine. And you connect them, as you described, you connect a new little thing to something that you already have, like the breathing with the teeth brushing,
Yeah.
and then it's easier to do that, and you don't need to change your whole life and prepare yourself to change something new. And for ours, so one other question is now, of course, okay, so how can we use the subconscious, if the subconscious mind is so powerful and helps us, and if it's maybe not helping us if we want to achieve something, so how can we tap and make the subconscious mind to help us? And there are only three ways to, as we know, information by itself doesn't get to the subconscious. So if you read 100 books, it doesn't help it.
Doesn't make you a doctor if you read all the
Doesn't make you a doctor. Right. So you need to have something underlying. So what is the subconscious mind? And there are three things. So first, what gets in the subconscious mind is clinical hypnosis. Gets direct into the subconscious mind. So first could be clinical hypnosis. Second, what impacts the subconscious mind is training. Mm-hmm. Daily training of doing something. Either you write something down every day 1,000 times. I am healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm relaxed, I'm relaxed, I'm relaxed, I'm relaxed, I'm relaxed. Even if your conscious mind says, hey, you are stupid, because you're not. Your subconscious, if you write it down long enough, your subconscious mind starts to grab it and say like, yeah, okay, well, it's good. If you want, then I'll do it. So the training of something very regularly, daily, for
critical, right?
Days, weeks, or months is critical. And you learn that to your subconscious mind. So with repetition, training with repetition, it's what you said. You combine something, a new ritual with something you already have, and you do that for days, weeks, maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I always do it roughly 3 months, something. And then it becomes a program by itself.
Yes. Then you've taken, that's a system, right? That's what I'm talking about.
And
you're not thinking about it anymore. And that saves you energy.
And it does it. It saves you energy, and you achieve what you want to achieve. You have your conscious mind to focus on something else. And the third thing that we can do is to do that using our subconscious, or so-called super learning methods. They are super learning methods. They developed it already since years, and they use it in psychology. They updated the systems a little bit, because in the beginning, in the psychology, they used to talk to people about the problems all the time, talking it over and over and over again. And the talking about things doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
Just that you come and talk all the time about the same thing, it doesn't help you develop something. So they developed that super learning methods. There are about 5 or 10 different super learning methods. One of them are, for example, this AFT or TFT method, which a lot of people probably already have heard. This tapping method.
Oh, tapping. Oh, tapping. I think I don't know if that many people are
tapping the points.
Familiar with it. Yeah, I've heard of tapping. I think I may have even tried it one time years and years ago.
I'm using also tapping because I
Yeah.
have an education in Chinese medicine. Yeah, I also do the TFT, taught field therapy. It's one of the
Okay.
super learning methods. But the methods that I wanted to do on the podcast, maybe we can do this on the next podcast, is a method. It's a method which is my own spin. And the method, the basic of the method, it's called Psych K.
Okay.
Psych
Not heard of
K
any of these things. Interesting.
combines the conscious with the subconscious, using the subconscious power, and combines the left side with the right side of the brain hemisphere. I will do an exercise with you guys next time live on this super learning system with something that we can maybe today take out as a goal that you guys want to take with and that you would like to achieve. And next time we make a super learning session, a quick one, so that you can implement that and feeding your subconscious mind to help you to support that.
That's a great
Again,
idea.
this is something what I normally do in 1, 2, or 3 days with people, or in the 3 months results coaching. I do this normally and support that. But we can do the essence out of that in a session next time.
That's a great idea. Can you give us an example of what people might want to come to this session with in their mind? I suppose it has to be something realistic, something that they can believe. Would you say? I mean, they wouldn't necessarily come to the session and say, I want to lower my blood pressure in a week. Or, I mean, I don't know. What's a thought that you could have in your head that is, give us an example. I can fumble around for a while.
People come with all sorts of things, with all sorts of ideas, with very quick, especially executives. They come and say, "Can you give me a pill, please, and make me
everybody wants a pill
in 2 days?"
Exactly. Which is not.
With all sorts of ideas. So
which
now,
is why they need to come to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So now, what is realistic? Even I don't like the word realistic too much, because realistic is coupled with what we have experienced in the past and was possible for us in the past. That's what we call realistic. Yes. And just because we have not achieved something in the past, it doesn't mean that it is not realistic. So I'm not so big fan of the realistic thing. But let's make an example. Let's make an example of losing weight, which is one of the biggest points. Well,
10 kilos is exactly what I want to lose. I mean, I can lose more.
I've had this many times. And I just want to explain an example from a guy who came like a few years ago, and he wanted...
Which is 20 pounds, by the way, for the US listeners. Or roundabout.
Yeah. He wanted to lose 20,
approximately
20 pounds, and he tried it many, many times. And of course, he failed all the time with a lot of things. And then he came to me and told me like, "So now you're the expert, obviously. So can you help me, please? And can you help me to lose 20 pounds, 10 kilograms in 3 months?" And I said, "Yes, we can do that. If," and there is an if to that, because of course we are a team then. The thing that we need to give for that is, first of all, our clear decision to do that. Second of all, the awareness of I maybe need to go out of my comfort zone and doing something which I have never done before to be able to achieve that. The mindset that you need to bring with to achieve something is like, okay, this is my goal. I won't achieve that. I will achieve this, and I do whatever I need to do to achieve it.
Okay.
Because if as soon as a problem comes up, if let's say you get sick or you have an invitation to a birthday party and you lose track, and the most people are gone then. But if your mind is really very strong and make a clear decision, yes, I want, then you are more able to hold true when it becomes difficult. And with this guy, now back to that guy who wanted to lose 10 kilograms in 3 months, I made him first in a process of being aware of his goal. How is his goal described? And that's important. And he said, now, I want to lose 10 kilograms. And I asked him, so why do you want to lose 10 kilograms? And he said, yeah, because I'm feeling fat, because my blood pressure, it's very high. And my father had already a heart attack and my mother was diabetic.
Yeah.
And so he told me about 10 things that was connected with that losing 10 kilograms, the reason why. And now if the reason why he wants to do something is with negative things connected, it's not possible to achieve it, because your body, your subconscious mind doesn't support that. If you say like, I don't want to look fat, I don't want to have a high blood pressure, then your subconscious mind can't make the difference, because I don't want and I want. And it will keep you fat, it will keep you with a high blood pressure, and you keep you not being able to do it because you describe it in that way. So that was the first point, make him realize what is his goal and what is his mind connections, subconscious mind connections to that. And then changing that, so now let's think, if you have lost 10 kilograms, how do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? What would you like to be able to do if you lost 10 kilograms? And then we were working on those points. And we pointed that out. Oh, I want to feel good. I want to fit in my suit from last 3 years. So we took the picture out, and I wanna feel relaxed. I want to feel happy. So we were looking out for the words that you want to look, and then I want to have my best body. I want to look great. I want to look amazing. And that's the next thing that our subconscious mind supports. It doesn't support boring descriptions.
It's just
losing weight.
Our subconscious is very judgmental.
It's very judgmental. I want to look very good.
We need to look good. We need to use
you need to
words.
use powerful. You need to use powerful descriptions. I want to look unbelievable. I want to look strong. I want to look amazing.
I want to have a tight ass.
I want to have an amazing, not just a tight. I want to have an amazing tight ass. I want to have an unbelievable body.
Unbelievable
the subconscious mind needs exactly that. And if you don't believe it, then it's your conscious mind that says like, oh, you're crazy now? Yeah. What's wrong?
I'm going back to sleep. You're boring me.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly what your subconscious mind needs. And that's what I did with him. So I did half an hour and half a day workshop with him to find out that you need to peel that out. It takes a little while, and you peel that out. And if you have the essence, and we had the essence out, and we found one belief that we could change to another belief, which was a strong one for him, the strongest probably. He want to look like this description for that one. I want to look like a stick. That was his picture. Because when he was young, he felt that he looks like a stick,
like a strong stick.
Like a stick. Strong stick.
Skinny stick.
And so he had that picture, and with that new picture, we started that program. And sure enough, after 3 months, 20 pounds.
That's awesome.
Not even, and now it comes the interesting part, not even by changing a plan or changing something drastically in his nutrition.
Wow. This is so good. And I was going to ask you for an example, and you've given it to me. The other thing that I wanted to tie in, which you've really done, and I just want to put a little bit of a bow around it, what you've just said, wrap it up with a bow, is that also in that book, Atomic Habits, he advocates for not so much goal-based setting, but identity-based setting. So instead of saying, I want to run a marathon in the next year, say, I want to be a runner, and then, identify with being a runner, or I identify with being a stick, or looking like this strong stick. And it's like you're shifting away from the goal of achieving one thing to how do you want to be? How do you want to present yourself to the world, or of course yourself as well?
Absolutely.
So that is exactly what you've just described.
I agree. This is exactly the same thing. And can I write something? Because I've had printed out something from my one of my people that I love to listen.
Yeah.
Sadhguru.
You want to
Sadhguru
read
is
out a testimonial or something?
just a quote from
Oh, a
Sadhguru,
quote.
which is the
Oh,
biggest
Sadhguru.
spiritual
Yes.
leader,
Yes.
and I love him because he's always controversial. And he said something, and I love that. He said, "Happiness does not come from what we achieve or not achieve, but by how we can be grateful for what we have or how we are in life." So happiness is not the result of what we have. If you achieved, if you lose 10 kilograms, that doesn't, it makes you happy for a second, but
Yes.
it's more what we appreciate if we are right now, what we all already have, the concept of cultivating and training an attitude of gratitude.
Yes, that's right. Attitude of gratitude. And I took a note as well. The goal is to become something, not just do something.
Yeah.
And that does feel so much more powerful, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, to become something, to become just the best you. And, you know, we come across people in our lives that are negative, see just the downside of everything. And they, for those from the outside looking in, they have plenty of money, you know, objectively and subjectively. You know, they've got a nice place to live, their children are healthy, they've got a good job, yet they will find the negative in everything. Somebody's got more money, somebody's prettier, somebody's skinnier. And you know, it's exhausting to be around people like that. You're sort of like, Jesus Christ, you know, look at yourself and what you've got, all the good things in your life. And at some point you have to just say, I can't be around that kind of person because it drains my own energy. And it's like, Jesus, I'm sorry. I wish for you the best, but you are going to maintain no amount of money in the world.
Yeah.
It's going to help you become happy because you will be then worried about, what if somebody else gets more? Then what? You know, I mean, it'll never, ever be enough. So it's just, yeah, who do you want to be versus what do you want to get or what do you want to do is, I think, such a profound way of being, but also not necessarily, it's easier said than done, right? That's also a practice.
That's why I always do the goal process in five topics. The first topic is your personality, personal person. Maybe your fitness or your body. The second one is your emotions. The third one is your social the social part. The fourth one is the spiritual part. What gives meaning and makes sense for you. And the fifth part is the financial part.
The financial part. Yeah.
All those 5 parts in the goal setting, I let people write down for all those 5 parts their goals. What are their goals? And why is that the goal? Because if we find the right why and we describe the goal in the proper way, then we can really be able to achieve that. And then we make a feeling and a picture for that. And with that feeling and the picture, we can start visualizing that. And that brings you in the circle of attracting what you're really looking for, the law of attraction, what I call it.
Which is quite powerful. I don't know an immense about the law of attraction, but I do believe in that when you're feeling really good about yourself for a variety of different reasons, it could be spiritual, it could be financial, it could be emotional, any number of things, that you do then attract more of that, don't you? I do believe in that. And that's really
first
interesting.
With your mind where you want to be, and then you will attract it. So you don't need to earn first 100 million francs before you can feel that way. You can feel first however you want to be, and then you will become also that person. It's more about who you become, and that's what makes you this manifestation from outside, what you can have.
And I think that's just also more of an enduring recipe for success. Who do I want to become? And then it's a process, it's an experiment, it's a journey, and you take from different people that inspire you, Guru or Tim Ferriss or Oprah, or I mean, whomever, a sport, you know, Serena Williams, and I think that that's just, you can learn so much from people, but
Yeah,
yes, you have to have the
definitely.
mind, you have to have the tools, and that's, hopefully this brings value to people. I learned a lot. I have to say that I didn't see anything wrong with saying I want to lose weight because I need to get my blood pressure down.
Yeah,
I thought that's a perfectly good reason because it wasn't out of vanity. But of course, I want to look good. I mean, of course, I want to look good. I want to have an amazing ass. I need to say that to myself. Maybe that I'm missing that point. But
yeah.
I had something interesting, kind of scary, actually happened to me on a couple of days ago on the weekend. I was working out, and I was doing some weightlifting, and I was not doing a hit workout. It was not high intensity. I mean, a little bit. I got my blood pressure up, or my heartbeat up, but I had a moment where I lost consciousness for a second. Uh, it wasn't a fall, and I think I was already on the ground, but it was something where I knew something just happened that was very uncomfortable, but it didn't feel bad necessarily. So I immediately stopped. I went upstairs. I happened to be in the house by myself at the time. Oh, my daughter was actually in her room. Anyway, I immediately stopped. I took my blood pressure reading. Well, no, first I took more blood pressure medication because I am on blood pressure medication. And my goal has been to lower my blood pressure because because I want, my intentions are good, right? I want to be doing sports with my kids. I want to be out there at the
Yeah.
body in the summer, all these good things around fitness. And now maybe this has a happy end. I'm not sure. We're still learning. We're still inquiring about the situation.
Well,
I've
next time,
been,
the next episode when we do the super learning methods, we
yeah,
can use the right description for that. We can
okay,
use your example, not using the lower my blood pressure. So we
yeah,
use another word for that, a powerful word, a powerful picture, and we implement that in our super learning methods, and we implement that.
yeah.
We're planting the seed into the soil,
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean, I
we
think that's a
implement.
great idea. The irony here, maybe that may be the irony, is that I've been making a lot of improvements in my health throughout the last year, and I've been measuring that in my resting heartbeat. My VO2 max has gone up quite
Yeah,
nicely. My resting heartbeat has come down a little bit,
great.
not dramatically, but it's definitely come down. My sleeping is improving. I'm measuring my sleep. So actually, I've been making a lot of micro improvements. And so I went to the doctor's yesterday. Was it yesterday? Monday.
Mhm.
And she thinks possibly my blood pressure has actually come down naturally now, and my medicine might be too high, and that
Mhm.
caused me to have, also I'd been fasting, and maybe possibly I was a little bit dehydrated. I mean, of course we're going to look into other things in case there's something weird going on, but it was a very isolated incident, not normal. And we did an EKG, and I actually went to a cardiologist a year ago because she had been worried about my blood pressure, and she wanted to make sure I didn't have any damage with my heart. So fortunately that was also very good. My cardiology appointment came out really good. So that was kind of a weird thing for me, was like, oh, you mean I actually maybe actually lowering my blood pressure? I was like, you mean all of those little things that I've been working on for a year may actually be working, and I just didn't realize it. And so, because I checked my blood pressure about half an hour after that incident, and it was very good. I mean, really good. Now I took medicine, but I normally take medicine, and it's never that low. So I was like, oh, well, maybe actually finally that seed that I planted is now actually coming up out of the ground. Maybe it's not completely
Great,
bloomed yet, but now it's come
great.
up out of the ground. And that's really
Wow,
exciting, assuming there's nothing else more serious wrong with me, which for now
that's amazing. That's
I'm gonna
very
take the
good.
happy path of that. Okay. So Stefan, we've come up to our time limit here because we want everybody to kind of have these really punchy moments of insight, which you've given us. And really, I'm looking at things differently thanks to this conversation. We didn't get too much into fear, but I think that we can probably weave the fear into the next episode,
Yeah,
because so much of what you've learned on your journey with Eastern medicine or Eastern philosophy is, I think, has the side benefit of reducing anxiety and reducing fear,
yeah,
because it comes with this concept of, I think you're going to tell us, is this misplaced belief that we have control over everything.
Yeah.
and we're trying to grab control, and our fear is just so misplaced in what actually we can control. So I guess we'll have to kind of maybe put a pin in that. But what do you think? You think that's a natural thing to address in the next episode?
Absolutely. I think it's an important one also to address and to be aware of what the importance are of fear, what is good about fear, how should we optimal deal with fear, that it's not harming us, that it's helping us. I think
Right.
this is very important because it can block everything down, that nothing that you want to do works. Your blood pressure get high, your hormones get screwed up, everything can get screwed up by the chemicals that fear can produce in your body. And
yes.
it's only a matter of observation from our mind, of awareness, mindful awareness. That's what that was the word I was looking for. And in Buddhism, we have a very good concept to see that. And I can explain that tomorrow in the midst of Western and Eastern philosophies.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Explaining a little bit about that, how we looked at in Buddhism.
Yeah.
And then the super learning method on top of that. And that makes
okay. Good. I love the flow. I love the way this is going. And I really think it'll be valuable for people today to think about what is it they want to bring to the super learning, pick something. And we can maybe just cover that a little bit more before we go into the exercise, to say, again, here's an example of one or two things you might come to the super learning with. And just in wrapping up our conversation, what you do with your clients and what you're advocating other people to do is to make sure that they tapping into the subconscious more. And you can't just say you want to tap into the subconscious. You actually have to do exercise around that, both the meditation oriented breathing one, as well as some of these cool exercises that maybe you can link to, or give me the link for, and I can put into the podcast notes.
We can share a link for the special music that you can use for that session, that super learning session. It could be a special music that supports that, because music has waves, and waves are very important for our conscious or subconscious mind. So there's a special created music for that, which I can.
Very cool. I like that. Good. Okay. Well, I think another valuable session. And if people are joining us on the journey, which they should, and I hope they stick with it, I think at the end of the day, they're going to be in a much better position to really develop the kind of person that they want to be, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, which is amazing. Thank you.
An unbelievable, outstanding, extreme, successful, and healthy person.
Yeah, exactly. Just come to the next podcast with all the really kick-ass adjectives, people. Okay.
Exactly.
Adjectiven. Good. Okay. All right. Until then, everybody, namaste. Have a great day. And we will be back with episode 4 soon.
Thank you.